Well, it's Stefan here in the X6 E71, the 2014. How's that one saying go? Pretty from afar, but far from pretty? Well, that's the wood on the passenger side dashboard, right by the airbag. So, coming down with a classic BMW cracked wood. Look at that. Couple of them, right? Almost like shorelines. No doubt the sun beating down on this panel ever since this car was introduced into service in September of 2013. So what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna replace it, of course, and here's that video. All right, as you can see, we're looking in the side of the door here at the edge where the glove box and the air vent is. So first, in order to start this project, and try to leave as much sun on here as possible, just put your pry tool under there and pop this little piece of faux brushed aluminum off the front here. Underneath the right vent, you've got a standard Phillips screwdriver here. And then you should just be able to pop this off. There it is. All right, we're gonna go to the inside now, and I'll show you that. Okay, start by popping open the glove box door. We want to do that now because we may or may not unplug this vent here when we take this out. And if we do unplug it, that button is an electrical button, and that will not work if we do have to unplug this. So we're gonna unplug this now. We're gonna take all of our stuff out of the glove box. All right, next step. Now we're gonna gently pry this center vent off. Comes out pretty easily. There we go. All right, we're gonna easily dangle it down here and decide if we're gonna take those clips out. There's clips here, here, and there, but I don't think we have to, because what we're gonna be trying to do here is we're gonna be trying to get the piano hinge out here that is in these hinges. Now, I'll show you that here real quick. All right, here's our glove box straight on, and you can see what they've got here is it's a partial piano hinge, right? And there's a wire that runs, or a kind of a bar, a thin bar that runs the length of this so that the hinge becomes a piano hinge. We are going to be tapping on that piano hinge with a pick through this side, and then once it starts to show its ugly face over here, we're going to grab it with a pair of needle nose pliers and continue pulling that out through here. So it's going to come probably out about here. That's why we had to remove that center vent. All right, you may be able to see that it is starting to pop out just a little bit right there, because this is my punch and then this is my hammer, and I put it right in this little hole here, and I'm ever so gently tapping it. All right, there we go. It's starting to come out a little bit more. I've got this little pick, but you know, if you can find something even a little bit longer, I may recommend that, because it's even getting kind of wedged in here, but I think we've got enough there so we can just pull this straight out. Got my needle nose pliers here. Gonna give that a tug. And there it comes. Don't want to scratch anything, so I'm being really gentle. I bet you this thing goes in really, really easy. All right, so our rod is coming out there. There we go. And we ought to be able to remove it here from the center, but we will keep on wiggling on that to find out how this thing moves. Okay, so it's got to go in like that. So I'll bet you this is going to be real easy to put back in. Not. All right, so I'm having to close it again a lot. All right, and then I've got here's one more screw here, right here where this hinges up with the top actuator. So we're going to find out what kind of screw that is, and we're going to take that off. All right, so what we have here is it's a one-way washer, and that is attached to this screw that goes through the hinge here. So what I'm going to do, it's underneath there, this is the second row. So what I'm going to do is I've got a, I'm going to put this down, a miniature screwdriver like this, and I'm going to just slowly try to work this thing out here and pop that washer off, and of course try not to lose the washer. Alright, so there was the one-way washer that went around, where is it, right here, the end of this pin, and this pin was pushed in all the way here, and that one-way washer was on the end here. But once you get that one-way washer off, make sure that you bend this little flange back into place, because you will bend it. There's no way to get this off without bending that. That, or go to your BMW dealer, show them this video, and ask them what part is this little two-way or one-way washer that is on this glove box. I want one. So if you bend it, you can just pull that new one out and throw that one on. But I'm going to put that back down in the footwell there. All right, so that comes out there. I'm going to put that in the footwell as well, and now I'm going to proceed with taking the inner guts of this thing off, and I'm going to put it onto the new trim for the glove box. All right, here we have the glove box lower trim panel here, and we took that off. And here we have the new part number on your screen right now. This came again from the really good supplier of BMW Parts Hub. And this, I've examined this a little bit earlier, is a really nice original BMW part. Comes in very nicely packed. It actually came in 2 boxes. This is just the inner box. So here is the replacement part. And you'll see that over time, the original wood not only cracks, but it also fades. So this is actually the original bamboo, and this is after 7 years of sunlight, this lower bamboo here. So we're going to turn this over here and see what part we have to swap over to our new part. So here, this part here, this upper part has to be swapped from here over to here, and that is 2 Torx 20s, 1 Torx 20 here and 1 Torx 20 there. So and that should come right off with a little coercing. We may need a panel pry tool for that, or it must be a little bit of adhesive. Let's take, there we go. All right, so that comes out like that. All right, swap it over. Looks like it goes under the tabs. Tabs go under here like this. Just make sure you're not going to bust any tabs swapping it over. Push that forward. All right, one detail that you could overlook if you're not looking closely enough is these piano hinges do have a sleeve. Both of them have sleeves in it. Now I've pulled these sleeves out part way just to show you that there are sleeves in there. Make sure you pull those sleeves out and then put those sleeves back into your new door. All right, and that's the swap. So now we're going to take our saran wrap here, and we're going to put this up here. And I'm going to saran wrap that wood, because the last thing I want is that wood getting scratched in this process here. So probably a couple layers of saran wrap, but of course we're going to put these. Now let's do that first. Let's put our Torx screws back in here first. Definitely don't use power tools on this. Right, that's now back on there. Now we're going to wrap that so that the hinge here is all exposed still. So we're going to make sure that's clear. So now we got 2 layers of saran wrap there. so that we don't get any parts scratched. Try to cover up as much as possible. All right, and that's the swapping of the parts and prepping for reapplication. I'll tell you what, this is the hard part. You have to hold the top of this glove box down, and then the part where you got that plastic dowel with the one-way washer on it, that needs to come out forward here. But the problem is that the ballast on this keeps on pulling the door away, and you can't, and this thing is like a tongue. You keep pulling it out and it doesn't want to come out. It doesn't want to stay there, so you can get the dowel back through this hole. You have to take the glove box out, and that's why you'll find two versions of this job. One where you take the glove box out, one where you just take the piano hinge apart. So I would suggest that the one where you actually take the whole glove box out is the way it's done at BMW. So what I've done here is I've gotten one of my panel pry tools, and I've got that, you know, in here, so that tongue, that the lower trim panel must be affixed back onto, which is, in essence, it's the light switch for the glove box. All right, here's some tips on getting the inside of the glove box out, because you have to first remove 3 of the inner panels to get the glove box out. This is the back panel. That's the one across the back here. And that panel is best pried off from the top right corner with a pry tool, and then you want to pry it forwards and away from the back. That'll pop off once you get, you know, the tension from the top down. Now, another panel that you got to pop out is the lower panel here, and I was driving myself crazy trying to get this panel to pop out. Here you can get like kind of the anatomy of this panel. So I tried to pop it out first by like squeezing like it together here, but that's not going to work. The way to pop this panel out is to take a pry tool and put it on the edge here and pry this way with a pry tool, and that'll pop this right side up, and that's where you need to go. And then get your pry tool and then you do the left side and pop that up. Because if you try to pop that by like using a pry tool on the long edges, it's not going to come out. It's just meant to bend that way, right? So pry tools on the short sides. And then from that point, you can pry this up and pull this out, making sure that you disconnect your USB if you have a USB in there. All right, and that's how you get the guts of that, of the glove box out. All right, now after you get your glove box disassembled, if yours came, the inner glove box, if yours came with a USB, then you probably have a clip that is going to be virtually impossible to unclip because the plastic is super thick. Now they say once you get this unbuilt or cleaned out in here, you've got 4 Torx 25s, or Torx 20s. One, and you can see my little Torx ratchet here on the back side. So you got 1, let me feel for the other one, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Get those untorqued, and then you've got one bigger screw back here. We're going to find out what that one is and get that one out. But clearly, if you want this done, you have to get the glove box out. So those videos on YouTube showing you just how to take out the piano hinge, wrong. You can get it out. You can get the lower glove box trim off, but you cannot get it back on. This in the back is a Torx 25, and it is on there tight. How's that for a screw from the back? You also have a Torx 20 on the right hand side, right up here, Torx 20, pull that. Another Torx 20 is going to be hiding on the left hand side up next to the light up here. Let's see if I can shed some light on that. See that up there? That's a Torx 20 up there. All right, so I had to get a little bit of professional help at a place called Euroworks in Pompano Beach, Florida, and he showed me that there was one more Torx 20 hidden back there, and then there's a little door here, and behind that door is another Torx 20, and it might take a little bit of looking to find that little door. All right, so when I'm pulling this, I still feel resistance from the top left-hand corner around here. So that tells me now we have to remove the screen. Now we're doing that. Believe it or not, that's really easy. You got a Phillips screw right here, a Phillips screw right here, and then it just pops right out. And you'll see that the glove box is actually recessed behind that screen, and that's why that has to come out. All right, so we slid the piano wire from the piano hinge back in through here. We hooked up that little dowel again, and as you can see, that glove box had to come out. That was 100 times easier with the glove box out. All right, reassembling the glove box interior. Start with the bigger panel that slips perfectly right in there, not a millimeter to spare. That should just pop down like that. All right, cool. All right, then we're gonna take this guy here, throw him in the bottom. All right, and that might take a little doing to get that to settle back in, because it did take a lot of muscle. No, it went right back in. I was gonna say that took a lot of muscle to get out. There we go, but it went right back in. And then finally, the last panel here on the back. That should go like bottom. Let's see here, bottom first and then up. All right, that does it. And there you have it, your new glove box wood for your BMW E71 or E70. That's the X6 or the X5. One of the more challenging things I've done. Of course, as always, a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears required, but it makes it well worth it. I don't know what this particular repair blocks out at hours-wise, but I'm sure I probably saved a good 2 to 3 hours of BMW time, which probably equals about 600 bucks. All right, good luck with your project.